Hey guys, I'll wait. In case you're watching the replay, I won't make you listen to silence here. We'll wait for just a couple of minutes until more people roll in. So when you roll in, just say hello and say who you are and where you're from. We're going to talk about a topic today that you're going to have to really open your mind about, because what I want to get into is not the typical party line. It's not something you've been taught since you were born. That's for sure. So hang tight here. We're waiting. And when you come in, say hello, say who you are so I know you're here. And we'll get right into this. Hey, David, thanks for being here. Appreciate you being here. Going to get started here in just a moment about the topic of time. One of the great lies, one of the many great lies that you and I have been conditioned in. Let me just say, and I've said this before, and I'll continue to say it until you get it, is that you've been conditioned in lies since the time you were born. And there are powers in this universe who have a vested interest in keeping you in ignorance and keeping you asleep. Hey, Tommy, keeping you asleep. Because when you're in ignorance, then you give your power away. When you're in ignorance, hey, Becky, when you're in ignorance, you live in fear, because fear is ignorance. When you wake up, there's nothing to fear because you remember who you are. Now, very few people ever get there, and it takes a lot of work to get there. But the fact is, and we'll just get going because people are rolling in now. One of the great lies, one of the many great lies you've been conditioned in, is to define yourself and define your world by your senses, your 5 sensory factors. Hey, DeWitt. DeWitt's one of our Project Stay Home members that just jumped in here. Look forward to speaking with you on Thursday night, DeWitt. Keep up the good work. But you've been conditioned to define yourself and define your world by your 5 sensory factors. Sight, taste, touch, smell, and hearing. But you are not your senses. You are so not your sensory factors. Okay? When you live from your sensory factors, you believe yourself to be a physical body. You're not a physical body. Your infinite intelligence and infinite potential and infinite possibility having an experience in a physical body. Does that make sense to you? Are you with me? And so from the time you were birthed into this third dimensional reality, you've been conditioned to define yourself by your 5 sensory factors. But what is neglected to be communicated, because most people don't know, even those who taught you don't know. Most of your parents don't know, and their parents don't know, and their parents' parents don't know. Most of the government doesn't know. Most of the media doesn't know. Now, there's 1%, the shadow forces that are running this universe, who have a vested interest in keeping you in ignorance, that know. And they want to keep you in ignorance, and they want to keep you asleep, because that way you give your power away. And that way, when you live and define yourself by your sensory factors, you define yourself by what you have in this third dimensional reality. But the truth is, look, guys, you don't have anything. That's another great lie. You don't have anything. You think you have a house. You think you have an apartment. You think you have a business. You think you have a bank account. You think you have a wife or a husband. You think you have kids. You don't have anything. They're not yours. The fact is, every single thing you think you own or you think you have is going to belong to someone else someday, including your kids, by the way, because you can't take them with you when you transcend to another dimension. Now, I'm getting on a roll here. Let me back up, because when you define yourself by your 5 sensory factors, first and foremost, you live in fear. Secondly, and we see this rampant all around us. How many people are defining themselves by the color of their skin right now? Please. Please. You're not the color of your skin. My skin changes colors all the time. People say, James, you're a white guy. I'm not white. This isn't white. Let me show you what white is. White is this, right? I've never seen a white person. This is white. Have you ever seen a white person? If you ever saw a white person, they'd scare the bejesus out of you, right? I've never seen a black person. This is black. Okay, and yet we've been defining ourselves by all this nonsense through our sensory factors, and we divide ourselves and we disengage ourselves and we disconnect ourselves from our greatness. Are you with me? And so there's many great lies you've been conditioned in, and I could go on for on and on and on. And we got a lot of people in here. We got a lot of our members from Project Stay Home. If you really want to dive deep, you need to be a member of Project Stay Home. And I keep telling you over and over and over again, and many of you go, oh yeah, I need to be a Project Stay Home because I want to dive deep. Well, then, sign up. Sign up. And I don't care where you live, because we got people from all over the globe who are members. We got people who get up at 2 a.m. in Europe just to join us on Thursday nights, because that's what's important to them. Now, let me go back to the great lies. And there's so many of them. But one of the ones I want to talk about here today is the lie of time. And you say, why is this important, James? Because when you buy into the concept of time, you buy into limitation. And you put yourself in a box. Now, Einstein stated, time does not exist as we know it. Direct quote, time does not exist as we know it. All time past, present, and future coexist simultaneously right now. Now, that'll blow your mind, but the fact is, when you buy into the lie of time, then you think it's going to take a certain period before you get the wealth and abundance and the joy and the freedom and the fulfillment that you wish for your life. It's going to take time. Okay, well, then you're stuck in your sensory factors. You're stuck in the 1% world. What do I mean by the 1%? Well, there's a myriad of vibratory levels in this universe. Science tells us this. There's all of these different frequencies. I'll come back to this in a moment. But if you're defining yourself by your sensory factors, how many people did this with a virus? I might get you can't get a virus. Your body can be exposed to a virus, but you're not your body. Are you with me on this? Are you thinking? Are you opening your mind? You see, I'm here to help you change your conditioning. You can change a habit, but to change your conditioning, to break free from your conditioning, is often next to impossible. Some people will argue for their conditioning because they're too fearful and they're too attached and they're too indoctrinated to set themselves free, even when it doesn't serve them. And so when you're locked in time, you're locked in a prison. It's going to take a certain period before your desires, your abundance, your wealth, fulfillment, happiness come into fruition. Well, okay, that's just not true. It's true in the third dimensional reality, the 1% world called visible light. But there's so many frequencies that we can't see with our five senses. That's in the 1% is where you see with your five senses. You see, you experience with your five senses. 1%. There's 99% other existences and levels that you cannot perceive with your five sensory factors. And by the way, you've never been taught about the sixth sense, which is the only sense that makes any sense. And that's your intuition. That's your super sense. Your super self sense is your intuition, because that's your spiritual self, and that's who you really are. Let's go back to time. So time says, I do this, I get this. I do this, I get this. I do this, I get this. And the past, there's the present, there's the future. Well, think about this. Does your past exist? No. If it does exist, it only exists where? in your imagination and your memory right now. You follow me on this? The only way your past can have existence is if you're holding it in your memory right now. And by the way you're holding it in your memory is a lie, because you're holding it in your memory based upon your perception and your definition of what you were looking with and through when you were a child. Well, you're more than that even now. And yet you're hanging on to these childhood perceptions and memories that didn't even happen the way you think they happened. What about your future? Well, if the future exists, it only exists in your imagination right now. And so what Einstein is telling us is that past, present, future all coexist simultaneously right now. And stick with me here. I hope you're taking notes. There's no linear time. What physics now understands is that we have vertical time. And it doesn't go past, present, future. It goes present, now. And this is scientific, guys. This is not mysticism, although it's kind of mystical. It's not mysticism, it's physics. Because thermodynamics tell us that energy can never be created or destroyed. All that ever was or ever shall be is already here. So let's say you're right here, and this is your now. And this is your frequency. Because that's where you're vibrating right now. This is science, it's not mysticism. I hope you're with me. Okay? Give me some comments if you're following me here. This is your vibration. This is your frequency. Oh, Jeff Lassard is here. I had to scroll up. He's one of our Project Stay Home members. Yeah. Krista is here. Hey, Krista. Krista's one of our Project Stay Home members. This is your frequency. And let's say that what you want to create in your life is up here, on a higher frequency. So, you can do this to get this, to do this, to get this, all you want on this frequency. You're not going to get this. So, in a very real sense, in the real world, there's no cause and effect either. Wow. There's just cause. There's no separation. Things that appear to be separated by vast, amounts of time. If time does not exist, they're not separated by vast amount of times. They coexist simultaneously, and they're next door neighbors. There's no time. And so why is it you don't have this? Well, I'll tell you why. Because you're vibrating, you're on a frequency down here. And so the greatest way and the only way for you to get up here is to make the investment in your consciousness and your awareness that expands you to this frequency so that you embrace it. You don't have to create it. It's already created. God created everything. Spirit created everything. You don't create anything. We don't create anything. We choose to participate and we choose to embrace things based upon the frequency level, i.e. awareness, in which we're existing. Are you following me on this? Now, this is way too much for most people to digest. And I get it. I get it because, to escape your conditioning is almost next to impossible. But for you to get from here to here, you have to expand your awareness. And so therefore, if you're really awake and aware, what you realize is that the single most powerful, the only investment you can make that makes a difference in your life, that even matters in your life, is in the investment in advancing and awakening your own conscious awareness, advancing your consciousness, expanding your awareness. And to the degree you expand your awareness, you take your power back. To the degree you expand your awareness, you do not any longer fear. Because you realize that birth and death are not in opposition. That's only something that we say in the third dimension. In the real world, they don't even exist. There's only life. They're not separate. Now, I know this is a lot to digest, but I hope you're listening. I hope you're digesting. because it'll change your life when you get it. Now, let me take this one step further. If there is no time, you want to say hi, Bear? If there is no time, yeah, come here comes the boss, guys.
It's time to go.
Did you say that with a Persian accent?
I did.
Do it again.
Hey guys.
This is my lovely wife. So
Krista, Jeff.
yeah, you got kind of calm hair today. What happened to your spikes?
I don't know.
I don't know. So anyway, let me come back. Stick with me here. If you understand there is no time, and she's telling me there's time to go because we have an appointment we got to get to. So let me roll this in. I could go on and on and on, and you know that if you know me. But because I get fired up about this stuff because you've never been taught this, and you probably never will. Unless you hang out with me, and then you're weird, and then Facebook blocks you and Instagram blocks you, and because the powers don't want you to wake up. Those in charge do not want you to take your power back because they keep you under their control, under their thumb by keeping you in fear. So let me just say this though: if there's no time, we've already explored that. Einstein tells us that. Quantum physics tells us that. We have vertical time. Now. Everything exists simultaneously. Then there's also no space. Because we call it in physics now space-time. Because we realize if you were going to come visit me from your home state, don't do it, I'm busy. But if you were, just imagine with me for a moment that you'd say it's going to take this amount of time for me to get from my home state to Nevada. Okay? Now, if it's going to take this amount of time, what are we also measuring? When we're measuring time, we're measuring on a clock the amount of space that dial moves around the clock. It moves 360 degrees. Are you with me on this? Are you thinking? Because to measure time, you also measure space, and you also measure movement. Now, when you blow out time, there's no space. Because there can't be space without time. Physics tells us this. That's why they call it space-time. And there is no movement. Light goes 186,000 miles per second in the third dimension, but in the real world, the spiritual world, it doesn't ever move at all. Nothing moves. There is no space, there is no time, there is no movement. There's only being. And so when you start to live and understand who you really are, you disengage from the fearful world of your sensory factors. You disengage from the fearful world that says, I am me and you are you. From the fearful world that says, I'm black and you're white. From the fearful world that says, I'm a man and you're a woman. From the fearful world that divides and separates and keeps us from being unified, and you start to realize that every single thing that you think you want, you already have. And if you're not experiencing it right now, it's because you have yet to become big enough to embrace it. You don't have to do something new. You have to become something new. Thank you, Anand. Appears that Anand gets it. You have to become something new. As you become something new, then you grow in your expansion, your awareness, and you embrace all things, all things, all things. And you realize that everything is one. It's not two, it's one. All the people who are writing against other people who are fighting, they're all one. Erwin Schrödinger, who's one of the fathers of quantum physics, says that the numbers of mind in this universe is one. Everything else is an illusion, guys. Everything else is something you've been conditioned into and programmed into in the third dimensional reality. But the third dimensional reality, please remember, is 1%. 1% out of 100 of what exists. Now, there's so much more to share, and I would love to have you. There's a link above my head. It's right up here. People say, where do I go? There's a link right above my head. Just open your eyes, please. Talk about awareness. Go there and click on store. I can't put that link here on Facebook because Facebook doesn't love me anymore. Facebook, blocks me and shadow blocks me on Instagram, and because I'm not preaching the party line and I'm not talking socialized mind. And so, okay, then you got to do a little more work. Go to my link right above my head, my website, click on store, and the first thing that comes up is Project Stay Home. Look, if you want to invest $13.97 for 4 coaching sessions, if this fires you up and inspires you, then imagine getting part of this every single week. Imagine getting plugged back into this every single week with me and Bersabeh live via Zoom. And that's what Project Stay Home is all about, and much, much more. Click the link, go to store. Project Stay Home will come up for you. $13.97 on your credit card is all it'll take, and you'll be off and running, and you'll begin your new journey, your new life, to escape fear, to overcome anger, to get out of the chains of socialized mind. Thank you so much for your time here today. I greatly appreciate it and I honor it. And it's time to take your power back. God bless. Lots of love. I'll chat with you in Project Stay Home, hopefully on Thursday night. Take care.